Hello, this is Claus Jensen presenting my most recent game from the 2009 Danish Correspondence Chess Championships. I think this is one of my most interesting correspondence chess games so far. And I'm playing the black side of a King's Indian, and the game starts knight f3, g6, c4, bishop g7, g3, knight f6, bishop g2, castles, castles, d6, d4, knight b d7, knight c3, e5 and e4. And now we have the fianchetto variation of the King's Indian. And in the classical King's Indian, white plays his bishop to e2 instead of to g2. And if he plays it to e2, then the normal plan for black would be a kingside attack with moves like f4 and g5 and g4 and so on. But in the fianchetto variation, it's much more difficult for black to attack kingside. So that is why English Grandmaster Joe Gallagher invented a different approach for black, the so-called Gallagher Variation. And I tried his ideas in this game, and soon you shall see what the Gallagher idea is all about. E takes d4, knight takes d4, rook e8, h3, and a6. And this modest move is showing my intentions of playing the Gallagher variation, because the main idea of the Gallagher variation is to play b5 at some point. But to be able to play b5, black would have to prepare this move. So rook b8 is necessary, and it's also necessary to kick this d5, d4 knight away, which is done with the c5. But this is of course leaving the d6 pawn weak. And this is the main drawback of the Gallagher variation, and this is the reason why it's quite risky and perhaps not popular at the very highest level. But it has been played in practical play by Gallagher himself against the GMs, and he has had amazing results with this system. So in the game, bishop e3 followed, rook b8, preparing b5, b3, and I played queen e7 to protect this soon-to-be weak pawn on d6. Queen c2, and then I kicked the d4 knight away, and then I played b5. And as Gallagher himself once was quoted, this variation of the King's Indian is a great way for black to creating chaos on the board. And I think chaos is a very nice description of this whole system. Knight f4, bishop b7. Another benefit of the b5 push is that it makes space for the light squared bishop. Rook a to e1, knight e5, putting pressure on the c4 pawn. And white protects it with the knight to c to d5, because now the queen is protecting the c4 as well as b3. But this is not a very good idea for white, and I was happy to exchange pieces on d5, because after these exchanges, then the d file is closed, and then my problem with the weak d6 pawn is no longer a big problem for me. So I think at this point I already have a very good position. My pieces are well placed, and since I don't have this d6 problem anymore, I think I could right away play to get an advantage from this pawn side, queen side pawn majority. And that's why I played c4 immediately in this position. Rook e2 followed, rook e to c8, queen d2, and knight d3. Always nice to have a knight on the third rank, and very annoying for my opponent. Rook b1, queen c7, queen d1, queen a5, activating the queen on the queen side. King h2, h5, f4, queen a3, king h1, a5, and the game is developing just as I had hoped for. All play is played on the queen side, and this is clearly in my interests. Bishop a7, rook a8, bishop e3. And in this position, it's clear for me that I want to be able to at some point play either c3 or c takes b3. And to do so, I have to move this knight, because as soon as this c4 pawn moves either to c3 or b3, then this knight would be hanging. So I played knight b2, and it also blocks the protection of the a2 pawn and liberates this c4 pawn. My opponent played queen c2, and in this position my first thought was to play c3 here, protecting the knight and giving me a protected pass pawn. But I felt that this protected pass pawn and my whole pawn majority on the queen side would be too static in this case. All the dynamics in the position would not be there anymore. So instead I decided to play the very risky queen takes a2, and my opponent did the only right thing. He played e5, which is blocking the communication from my bishop on g7 to the knight on b2, and the knight cannot move because it's pinned to my queen. So this knight is now lost, but what I get is a lot of dangerous connected pass pawns on the queen side. Rook b1, because he wants to unpin this e5 pawn. Rook c2, rook e to e1, b2, and we can already see that the pawns on the queen side are very dangerous for my opponent. Bishop e4 attacking the rook, rook c4 attacking the bishop, bishop d3 attacking the rook, rook c3 attacking the bishop, and bishop takes b5, a3. Two very dangerous connected pass pawns. Bishop d4, rook b3, bishop c4, rook b4. And in this position, my opponent decides to give up his extra bishop for one of my dangerous pawns. So he plays bishop takes b2, a takes bishop f1, d takes e5, f takes e5, rook a5. And material is now completely even, and although white is having a protected pass pawn on d5, then the only important imbalance in the game is my pawn on b2, which is very nice supported by the rooks and also by the bishop. So I have a clearly one position at this point. Bishop g2, king f8, king g1, rook c5, king f1, rook c3, d6, king e8, bishop d5, rook b5, threatening the bishop, and if it moves away, then the e5 pawn will soon be hanging after rook c1, as we shall see in the game. Rook b to d1, then rook c1. Rook takes, b takes, queening, rook takes, and rook takes d5. And now I'm being a bishop up for only a pawn, and having a nice control of their central pass pawns. It's clear that this position is easily won for me. A few more moves followed in the game. Rook c8 check, king d7, rook c7 check, king d8, rook takes f7, bishop takes e5, rook f8 check, king d7, g4, h takes, and bishop takes d6. And still being a bishop up, and at some point I will probably also win the g pawn, and this is of course completely lost for my opponent, and therefore he decided to resign the game in this position. And I really like this game, in which I played the very risky Gallagher variation, because I got very good play on the queen side, and in the end it was my queenside pawns which decided the game. And I hope you enjoyed this game as well, and I hope to see you on my blog at clausjensen.com. Bye bye for now.